In this week's video, I'm going to walk you through my 2022 buyer's guide, which is long overdue. Calgary has experienced some hot market conditions in the first half of the year, so let's hope that the second half slows down a bit so you can actually put some of these principles into practice. Now, I've facilitated over $3.9 million of real estate transactions this year alone, and it's been unlike any other year that I've been in business. This market resembles that of 2007 and 2014. It seems like anyone can sell their house by simply putting it on the MLS, while buyers struggle to win multiple offer situation. So with that in mind, it's very important to set yourself up for success well in advance. If you're going to go into a competitive offer situation, let's take some steps before placing any offers to make sure that you're ready and capable of purchasing that perfect home when it comes on the market. If you're outside of Calgary and working with another realtor, challenge them. Ask questions and do your research prior to committing to that one professional. It is very important that you are super confident in the person that is representing you. This is one of your largest assets, so why would you waste your time with someone that you don't fully get along with or that you don't fully trust? There are nearly 6,000 realtors here in Calgary. Interview a few of them and figure out for yourself who has the best systems and the aptitude to get the job done. Losing out on a couple of your dream homes is very frustrating and will only cause you to look back and wonder what if. Now, I will admit that I have lost a few transactions this year. Cash buyers, higher offers, and people willing to go conditionless are really hard to compete with. So let's take the necessary steps to set you up for success correctly. So with all that being said, this guide is tailored for my city, but these principles can be used all around the country. The processes may be different, but preparing yourself well in advance is always recommended. So let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen with you and walk you through my 2022 buyer's guide for Calgary, Alberta. Shout out to high converting content and upper brand marketing for helping me revamp both my brand as well as my marketing material. So moving right along, you will notice that the very first slogan in my guide is that your success starts with a plan. And I fully stand behind this statement because I believe in preparing yourself well in advance only has positive outcomes. You'll develop more confidence and potentially save yourself more money along the way. I do want to quickly mention that this overview does not replace a 1-hour consultation for me to get to know your personal situation. My calendar link is below, so if you are curious about what these things will look like for your individual situation, reach out. So let's get into it. So on the right hand side, you will find the 10-step home buying process. First, get pre-qualified with a mortgage broker or bank. 2, find a realtor that's right for you. 3, buyer's consultation. 4, become an educated buyer and book some showings. 5, make an educated offer. 6, prepare for a counteroffer. 7, finalize contract and final signing. 8, home inspections, satisfying conditions and waivers. 9, preparing for possession. And 10, closing day or the final walkthrough. So first on the list is getting pre-qualified for a mortgage. It is never fun to look at homes to then realize that you cannot afford it after spending hours looking in that price range. Rather than setting the standard too high, let's be realistic. Knowing your approved price range is very important. The very first step you should consider before looking at any homes online is to consult with a mortgage broker or financial institution to complete the required documentation to become pre-approved. Keep in mind some closing costs that are out-of-pocket expenses. So let's remember that the process can take a long time, and there are a couple documents that you probably don't have at your fingertips and you need to request from your employer. At the bottom of the document here, you can see that I've highlighted just a couple key things for self-employment, incorporated, and some of the costs of home purchasing. So let's keep in mind that the process isn't just quick and easy or done overnight. It does take a little bit of time. Now, second on the list is finding that right realtor for you. It is vital that you understand whose interests the realtors are legally bound to during a typical real estate transaction. The listing agent. The listing agent is under contract with the seller to market and sell their property for the best possible price. So when working with the seller's listing agent, that means they can arrange a showing of the property, provide details about the property, explain all the forms and agreements related to buying the property. Now, it's most important for you to realize that a buyer's agent actually works in your interest. When you engage the services of a buyer's agent, someone who is under contract to work solely in your best interest, you get all the same benefits listed to the left, plus your personal realtor provides you with the following. Now, I'm not going to read these all out, so just take the time, pause the video, and watch them yourself. I do really want to stress the fact that it is very important for you to get a buyer's agent. The buyer's agent typically gets paid out of the equity of the net proceeds of the seller. So for many buyer's agents out there, the buyer themselves don't actually pay for their professional services. It's the listing agent's net equity of the property that actually pays for the services. Now that can change and vary for different realtors, but for the most part, that's what I've experienced. Now, step number 3 would be to book a buyer's consultation with the realtor that you want to work with. It is vital that this meeting takes place prior to showings. You are in the process of buying one of the most significant assets in your life. The buying process does not begin at the first house you want to see. It starts with a meeting to share information and become informed about the entire purchasing process. The first meeting in the buyer's process is to determine several goals, lay out expectations, and allow both the realtor and buyer to assess each other before committing to a service agreement. The outcome of having a signed service agreement, a clear understanding of your personal goals, understanding your why, as well as the timelines that need to be taken into consideration are critical to start on the right path. Now on the right hand side, you can see a meeting agenda, which is the things that I try to cover during our 1 hour consultation. These things can be done in person, at a restaurant, at an office, or they could be done over Zoom, which seems to be the most popular thing over the last year, especially for people who are coming from out of province. Don't underestimate the importance of having a buyer's consultation rather than just getting set up on automated searches, because at the end of the day, I don't actually know what to send you without knowing your personal situation. You typically will buy your whys, not your whats. Keep that in mind. So step number 4 builds right off step number 3. My job as a realtor is to help you find the right home in the right area. I want to help make sure that you don't miss any opportunities or pay too much. Above all, it is my responsibility to protect you and your best interests during the entire transaction. Once we create your portal and app with preferred criteria, we begin to identify properties that best suit your whys. Depending on when you're actually wanting to move into the property, I will set you up on my app, which I just spoke about here, with automated searches set up where we can either see listings ASAP or even just once a week. It's totally up to you and your position in the buying process. The app is super easy to use and provides an amazing opportunity to share notes, favorite properties, and talk about all the listings that's within that criteria. So for my guide this year, I've actually put 5, 6, and 7 all together. The constant reflective communication and education that you will receive from me will empower you to get the best possible deal on the home that you desire. Communication is by far the most important aspect to any business relationship. Upfront, honest communication will not only develop a great friendship, but make sure we are aligned with your whys on the right path of achieving your goals. Steps 5, 6, and 7 change on every single transaction. This also changes with market conditions. Things like personalized notes to the seller, looking at sales history in a given community, but also brushing up on the quadrant stats will help solidify your decision to purchase that home. The market is always shifting, and right now in April 2022, it's a seller's market. The seller has more advantages over the buyer, so it can be difficult to get the best possible deal, but low interest rates and a solid economic outlook for Calgary is still a great time to buy. Now, step number 8, the conditions. This is not Ontario or British Columbia, as most transactions have conditions attached to them, which should be almost mandatory in my opinion. If people only knew the stories we hear about the brokerage of how many unqualified people and not educated enough place unconditional offers is not fun. While they have a place in the market, they're not for everyone, so just make sure you do your research before placing any sort of unconditional offer. Now, once we negotiate the best possible terms, price, and move-in dates, we now need to satisfy those conditions. We need to add more people to our team to allow us to get this thing done properly. So in most cases, this typically involves performing a home inspection by a licensed professional, getting the rest of your personal information and property information to your mortgage broker or bank, and starting to think about which lawyer you would like to use to facilitate the legal documentation. Now, I have a list of people that I typically use here in Calgary, so I can share that list with you, and then you can do your research on top of that and make sure that you're adding the right people to the team that you're most confident and comfortable with. Step number 9, preparing for possession. Typically, you'll have anywhere from 30 to 90 days to get everything ready for your new home. It can, however, be shorter or longer depending on what you need and have agreed upon with the seller. The closing date is usually the same as your move-in date or possession date. It is a good time to start getting things organized well before the closing date to reduce the stress of moving. The moving checklist is a great way to keep you on top of everything that you need to accomplish during the potential stress period. I've also added on the right-hand side just a list of things to consider of expenses that you might incur while moving or making some changes. Things like lawyers, movers, insurance, changing your address, the down payments, fees, and adjustments. Now, step 10, the final walkthrough or possession day. If everything goes according to plan between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. on possession day, the lawyers will call the selling realtor to release the keys. Now, sometimes there can be delays with fund transfers or minor complications that may delay the release. Now, it's not too often that this does happen, but it is something to be aware of. I've had keys released at like 8:30 a.m. I've had keys released at 4:35 p.m. Every transaction is different. Some buyers actually put into the contract that they want a 24-hour walkthrough of the property prior to possession day just to make sure that everything is checked out, nothing's broken, and everything is in good working order. Now, what I've also done on this guide is I've actually added a couple checklists here. So if you want to print it off, feel free to utilize it. It's what it's for, just to help keep you organized and on top of things. All right, last but not least, why work with me? If you've made it this far in this video, I cannot thank you enough. Please consider liking the video and maybe even throwing a comment, as it really does help the channel grow. If you want a copy of this guide, I will link it in my description. My background in business, sales, and trades has given me an extraordinary amount of confidence to get the job done right. My personality, willingness to explain things, and honest communication will make me a successful realtor for the long haul. I've been in the industry long enough to see some pretty weird stuff and realize what works and what doesn't work. I truly hope you get some great insight from this video, and I'm excited to work with you if you're willing to at least interview me. So make sure to subscribe, and until next time, peace.